Hey, joyful wife. Thanks for joining me again. So, what if I told you that your husband isn't actually creating most of your marriage problems at all? What if the real source of your frustration, your hurt, your disappointment isn't his behavior? I'm about to share a framework with you that completely changed how I experience my marriage, and it's called STEER. STEER. And once you understand it, you'll really never see conflicts the same again. Just as a disclaimer, this isn't about excusing bad behavior or pretending that problems don't exist. This is about discovering where your emotional experience actually comes from. And it was so shocking for me. So, the STEER framework starts with an S, and the S is the situation. What actually happened? What are the facts? What can be proven in court? Not your thoughts about it. And then the T would be your thoughts. What did you think about what happened? The first E is for emotion, and it's how you feel based on the thoughts that you're having. And then we have the other E, which is your experience. What is it like to be you in that moment? And then you have an R for result. What did you create? So here's how that plays out in real life. Your situation is your husband comes home 30 minutes late without calling you. Now, I want you to see how the same situation creates completely different results based on the thoughts you're having. Wife number one, he doesn't respect my time. He knows I worry when he's late. He doesn't care about my feelings. These are all thoughts that she's having. Her emotion is anger, hurt, resentment, and then the experience. Like, how does she behave in that moment? Maybe she's slamming cupboards. She's snippy as soon as he walks in the door. Maybe she avoids him. These are all different ways that she's experiencing this emotion and what it looks like in real time. And the result, you get disconnection, you get confrontation when he walks in. Now we have wife number two, and her thoughts could be traffic must have been bad. He probably didn't want to text while he was driving. I'm glad he's home safe. The emotion is she's relieved, she feels understanding, and she is feeling love towards him. How does she experience those feelings? Is that she's welcoming when he comes in. She maybe approaches him with a hug and a kiss and a greeting, and they just naturally start their interactions with each other. And the result is a connected, warm, welcoming conversation. So it's the same husband, same situation, but completely different marriage experience. The difference is in what each wife thought about what he did. So a lot of people struggle with the S, and that's the situation and giving the facts. So here's a simple way to understand the difference between facts and thoughts. Imagine a video camera recorded your husband coming home late. What would it show? Video camera facts would be man walking through a door at 6:30 instead of 6 p.m. That's it. The camera doesn't record. He doesn't respect me. He doesn't care about my feelings. He's selfish. He should have called. Those are all thoughts. Those are not facts. And those thoughts are what create your emotional experience. So the video camera captures the whole situation. Your brain adds an interpretation, and your interpretation creates an emotion, and your emotion drives your behavior, your responses. And most of what you think is what happened is actually just your interpretation of what happened. And that interpretation is completely within your control. Here is a big truth that I did not learn until my late 20s, and I wish I had this growing up, but now I'm able to teach this to my son, and he's able to learn it at such a younger age, which is going to help him to develop that maturity and emotional regulation that I wish that I had. Your circumstances don't create emotions. Your thoughts about your circumstances create the emotions. Your husband's actions are circumstances. Your thoughts about his actions create the emotion about those circumstances. So this means he can come home late and you can feel angry, or you can feel curious or understanding or patient. You can choose any of those. He can forget to do something and you can feel hurt and resentful, or you can feel patient and you can remind yourself that it's okay that we forget things. He can be quiet and you can feel either rejected or peaceful. He can make a decision and you can feel either controlled or you could feel supported. The situation stays the same. Your thoughts determine your emotional experience. So, why is this so powerful? Because you can't control his actions, but you can learn to manage your thoughts. You can't control all your circumstances, but you can control your interpretation of those circumstances. You have way more power over your marriage experience than you realize. It just doesn't come from changing him. It comes from understanding how your own mind works. So when you understand that steer framework, you realize you can have the same marriage, but a completely different experience of it just by becoming aware of your thought patterns. So thoughts creating distance are, he never helps with anything. But a thought creating connection says, he helps in ways I may not notice. A thought creating the feeling of resentment could be, he doesn't care about what's important to me. But a thought that's creating peace is, we show care differently, but we both care. So a thought that may be creating the emotion of frustration could be, he should know what I need. But a thought creating understanding is, I can communicate what I need clearly. So you have the same husband with the same problems, but the thinking is different. A different thought creates different marriages. Now, again, this isn't letting your husband off the hook for his behavior, but there's something called the system theory that when one thing changes in a system, everything can respond to that. And you are that thing within the system. And when you change how you show up, everything around you can change how they show up. But that's up to them. So when you're feeling upset, you can ask, what am I thinking about this situation? You have to separate the facts from the thoughts or your interpretation. What would a video camera show versus what story am I adding to that? Notice the connection. How are my thoughts creating my emotions? And then experiment. What if I thought about this differently? How would I change how I'm feeling? This isn't toxic positivity. You're not trying to think positive thoughts about everything in your life. We are human. We're going to experience all the emotions, but you're learning to see that the difference between what happens and what you make it mean, well, there's a lot of room for interpretation. Just to boil it down, your thoughts are creating your marriage experience way more than your husband's actions are. When you learn to see the difference between circumstances and your interpretation of circumstances, you discover incredible power to change your relationship. You can't always control what happens, but you can learn to control what you think about what happens, and that changes everything. Friend, your marriage transformation, it starts with your own thoughts. And if you're interested in learning more, I am going to be launching the very first beta membership of the Joyful Wife Gathering, and you can find that at school.com/the joyful wife. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next time.